Welcome back. It's Wednesday, October 15th, and you know what time it is. It is time for the Women's Lounge. I'm your host, Emiliana Guereca, and this is about my take 3 or take 4 as all the chaos is just mounting. So it's Wednesday, and today we're tackling one of the most urgent issues of our time. We're talking about voting rights. Here's what's happening. The truth is that voting rights are on the chopping block. Most people don't know what is happening, but the Supreme Court is the most conservative court that we've had in generations, and voting rights are at the Supreme Court as we speak. That means that we're going to have an uphill battle on all rights, on reproductive rights, on worker rights, on immigrant rights, LGBTQ plus rights. At the center of the fight is the right to vote. Realistically, if we lose our vote, we lose our voice. So today we're talking about what's at stake. There is a case at the Supreme Court that talks about voting rights and what does it mean for people, why it matters. Realistically, it matters because for women, we weren't given the right to vote. We earned the right to vote by fighting back, by making sure we protested, by making sure that they passed the 19th Amendment. I'm in California currently. In California, women earned the right to vote 12 years before Susan B. Anthony led her crusade for voting rights. So it does take time. And so we cannot be silent on voting rights, as when they erode that, they erode our power. So women didn't earn or fight for the right to vote until 1920. They earned the right to vote in 1920. But women of color were still excluded long after that. As it turns out, Susan B. Anthony and her group were also racist. So we know what's at stake when we know that women of color are always excluded. So every generation of women has had to fight for the access to the ballot box. And you may know this, but most people don't. Women are the largest voting bloc everywhere. So we do have power in that. If you ever talk about how women vote, women in general vote for Democrats in general. Women of color vote as well for Democrats. So what we're talking about is realistically that women's rights have shifted and that women's rights have been politicized. Because as we know, women's rights to choose or women's right to vote shouldn't be political. We're women. We should get the right to exercise to vote. It's not a privilege. It's our right. And I always say that if they did not think that we deserve the right to vote, then they would not be trying to take it away. If they did not understand, and I'm talking about the patriarchy, I'm talking about the power folks in administrations. If it is not powerful to vote, if there's no power in voting, they would not be trying to gerrymander. They would not be trying to take our votes away or our right to vote. So you know that it's about power. We know it's about power. So trying to take our rights away, including voting, is about power. So women are the margins of victory in elections. We know this, especially Black women, Latina women, Asian and Native women, which is specifically why voter suppression targets people of color. Voter suppression targets Black women, targets Latina women, targets Native women, Asian women. Why? Because we have the numbers and they know that voting is power. Winning elections are power, but also because women tend to vote around issues that we care about. We care about reproductive rights. We care about health care, equal pay, childcare, education. Those are all things that are on the ballot. And that is essentially what we show up to vote for. And so without the vote, women don't get a say in shaping policies and shaping equal pay. Women don't get a say in talking about childcare, because all of a sudden the folks that are pro-life stop caring once the woman has the child, as if childcare is only a woman's issue. So we must make sure we stay loud, stay active when it comes to voting rights, because it shapes policies. We help shape policies every time we show up at the ballot box to vote for policies, to vote for politicians. So let's talk about voting rights aren't abstract. They are part of society, but more than anything, it's feminist. It's a feminist rights that are behind this, right? I always say, think of feminists. Why? Because it was a feminist that was out there marching to make sure that women had the right to vote when the forefathers didn't think about the foremothers, right? So it goes back to all of that. And so at this point, we're talking about what is at stake in the Supreme Court and their conservative agenda, because let's be real, it's a conservative agenda. And so we're talking about the Shelby County versus Holder in 2013 gutted the Voting Rights Act, ending pre-clearance and unleashing voter suppression. And so what we're talking about is that this has already been brought up. The new cases on redistricting, on mail-in ballots, on voter registration rules have cut even deeper into where this is headed. As soon as we talk about, well, they shouldn't get a mail-in ballot, why not? Why can we not make it easier for people to vote? Why are we making it more difficult for people to vote? That's not democratic, right? So the court, as we know, has already given some signals about what their thoughts are on this. To make a point, who is really at the forefront of this, if you look at it, is Brett Kavanaugh. As we know, Brett Kavanaugh is pretty conservative. As we know, Justice Roberts, as we know, Amy Coney Barrett are what they call constitutionalists, is what they call themselves, which is a joke. If you were a constitutionalist, Amy Coney Barrett would not be on the Supreme Court, as she is a woman, and don't get me started. That's where we're at. So the court has overturned Roe v. Wade, which all of these justices said that was settled law, right? And so they've overturned Roe v. Wade. So it rolled back, right? Our rights to reproductive justice, reproductive care, our rights to an abortion. They've rolled that back. They also rolled back affirmative action. They weakened worker protections, and voting rights are next on the list. When they tell you and when they start signaling that they want to take away our rights, believe them. Believe them. We are no longer in a situation where this is a joke. Oh, it's not going to happen, right? We are not even a year into this administration's term, and it has been nothing but chaos, but a rollback in our rights. That's what's at stake here. So the conservative majority has made it clear they will limit access to the ballot to maintain power. It's really clear. When they warn you, believe them. Believe them when they tell you that some of this is unsettled law. Believe them when they tell you that they want to rework the Constitution to exclude people that do not look like them, that do not have a background like them. That's what we're dealing with. And if you don't believe them, look at what's happening on the streets. On the streets, they are racial profiling every Latino and brown person on the street. Okay, so that is their agenda. Their agenda is white. That is the agenda. So voting rights, as it pertains to feminist power, is something that they will gut. We've got to make sure that they don't. We've got to make sure that we continue to fight back. Speaking of fighting back, of all the chaos, we are on day 14 of the shutdown. Day 14 of the shutdown with no end in sight. So today on Women's Rights Watch, we are talking about the day 14 for the government shutdown. And I know this episode will be released on Friday, so we'll see what happens, but buckle up. Spooky season, it's Halloween, and honestly, it's freaking scary. What is happening is scary. Federal workers are furloughed without pay. Many are women, single mothers, caregivers who rely on stable paychecks. So as of now, they've missed a paycheck. Think about telling your landlord that you don't have a paycheck. You don't know where you're going to pay rent from or food, right? So it's dire out there. Domestic violence shelters and food assistance programs are already feeling the squeeze as they sit and wait for payroll, as they sit and wait to see what other cuts are going to come their way. So we know that folks are struggling. Thanks for joining me in the Women's Lounge. If today's conversation inspired you or fired you up, make sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Let's keep building this movement together. Follow us on social media at the.women's lounge or visit womensmarchfoundation.org for more ways to take action. Until next time, keep speaking up, showing up, and staying loud. Thank you.